We are done making all of our blocks, so now we're going to start with the sashing and then putting them all together for the inside of our quilt layout. And what we're going to do first is we are going to take these 14.5 by 1.5 inch pieces of the teal print of our background print, and we're going to put a 1.5 inch white square on each end like that. So I just kind of have these set up right here in front of me, and I'm just going to chain piece those through. Okay, and on those, I'm just going to finger press to the teal print on each of those ends. And then we'll be ready to start putting our blocks together. Now we're going to be adding the sashing that we just made to the blocks. And what I have done is I have picked out the 4 center blocks that go down the center row there, and I am going to add a sashing piece, one on each side of the block. And I'm going to do that to these 4 center blocks. Okay, and then I'm just going to give that a press, and I'm pressing the seam towards the piece that I've just added on each side, and then we'll finish that on the other 3 blocks. I have the 2 sashing strips added to each side of the center block for my first row, and I'm referring to my diagram again. And now I'm going to take the block 1, and I'm going to put that right sides together and sew it to the sashing that I've added to the center block. Okay, so if I open that up, now I have the first 2 blocks joined, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the 3rd block to the center block. Okay, turn that right sides together and place that right on that. I'm going to line up my edges, and you can pin here if you want. Okay, and then I pretty much have then row 1 done. Now I will press this so that I'm pressing towards the sashing piece, and I'll do that on each side. And now I'm going to take the center block from row 2 and add the other 2 blocks to it. So I'm just going to keep doing that until I have all 4 rows ready to go. Now we're going to make our little sashing strips that go between the rows. And so we will need 3 of these strips, and the strip is going to be 3 of these pieces here, and we're going to put a little teal background square in the center of the 3 pieces. So we're going to go ahead and make that now 1 long strip, and then we're going to do 3 of those. And then I'm pressing it back to the teal square. Okay, so then I have 1 row complete, and then I'll make 2 more of these. Now I'm going to take the sashing, one of the sashing pieces that I just made, and I am going to sew it to the bottom of our row 1. And so I am going to kind of orient this so I know how it's going to go. All Okay, and I'm just going to kind of anchor hold it in place, and if it gets to be too hard, these are getting longer, so as it's getting a little bit more difficult to hold, I may add some pins, but right now I think I'm just going to go ahead and try it. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm going to press that back to the piece, the sashing piece. And then we can add row 2 to this. Okay, now I'm going to add row 2 to row 1. So I'll put those right sides together. Okay, so I have 1 and 2 joined together, and then I will give that a good press, and then I'm going to work on rows 3 and 4. Okay, now I'm working on row 3, and I'm going to add a sashing strip, 1 to the bottom and then 1 to the top of the row. So while I have row 3 here, I'm adding a sashing strip to each side of it. Okay, and now I can press both of those. Okay, now I'm going to add row 4 onto row 3. We'll give that a press. Okay, now I have rows 3 and 4 joined here at the bottom, and then I'm taking my rows 1 and 2 and I'm going to sew all those together. Now for this section I am going to pin just because there's a lot to manage since we have the whole quilt now kind of coming together. So I'm just going to put a few pins in at some of the big intersections where I want to make sure stuff is lining up. Okay, now I'm going to give that a press, and then we have the inside of our quilt all sewn together. The last thing we're going to do this month is to go ahead and put a small border on the top, bottom, and the 2 sides. So let's go ahead and do that as well. Okay, for the border, I have 6 strips here, and I am going to sew them together just straight end to end. Okay, and then we can give that a press. Then we're going to cut the strips down to the sizes that we need for the top and bottom border and then the 2 side borders. Okay, we're going to add our side borders first. I already have it cut to the right size, but now I'm going to fold it in half to find the center. And I'm going to mark that with a pin. Okay, and then I'm going to lay out my quilt here. And finding the side, okay, right here. And then I'm going to match up that center with the center of the quilt, and I'm just going to pin that border right into place. And then I'll just put a few other pins in. I'm going to go ahead and pin the other side on while I'm here, and then we'll go to the sewing machine and stitch it on.